All right, class, welcome back. We're just going to go ahead today and we're going to do chapter 27 as a review right now. That way you guys can be prepared for your test on Monday. We don't really have anything assigned for you to do this weekend. Just go ahead and make sure you're studying this PowerPoint. Look through the other PowerPoints that I posted online and make sure you study that map because you're going to have another map quiz. And so far, we have not done really great on our maps, just solely for the fact that we haven't had time to sit down and really review them. So I'm going to really work on getting some map type review things out there so you guys can start practicing them without just having to stare at it and review. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, number one, the two most important improvements in transportation between 1945 and 1960 were increased, which would be the construction of the interstate highway systems and improved airlines. Sorry, guys, I forgot to put the animations in. We're just going to go through these. All right, number two, after World War II, labor or jobs were available for returning soldiers. Number three, consumer demand for homes, cars, and electric products increased after World War II. Demand. Number four, inflation is an increase in the cost of products purchased by consumers. Number five, natural resources were abundantly available for consumers and businesses after the war. So that's one thing to remember, is that if there was a need for natural resources, the United States had an ample supply within its own borders, but if it needed more, it could always import it from other countries like oil from the Middle East. Number six, one of the most important improvements in tools and equipment after the war was the use of computers to help with automation. So don't forget, the use of computers really started to change how manufacturing worked. Number seven, after the war, companies used diversification to increase profits. So remember, diversification is the process of being able to expand your business offerings so that you can gain a greater share of the market and be more profitable. All right. Number eight, the largest public works projects in the 1950s was the construction of the Interstate Highway System. Interstate Highway System, number eight. Number nine, President Eisenhower tried to help the poor by providing money for low-income housing and Social Security. Those are his two methods that he tried to help the economically disadvantaged. Number 10, during the 1950s, many Americans feared that communists were subverting the U.S. government. Remember, they were looking for spies within the United States government. Also, on a side note, they were also afraid that they were in Hollywood and other locations trying to subvert our culture too. Number 11, the leader of the anti-communist movement in the federal government was Senator Joseph McCarthy. Remember, he's the one that kicks off what is known as McCarthyism, but it is Joseph McCarthy. 12, the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution limits the president to 2 terms of office. After Franklin Delano Roosevelt, they decided that having a president past 2 terms was a bit excessive, so they settled in on 2 terms. 13, during the Red Scare, people were blacklisted and unable to find work. So if you were blacklisted in Hollywood or if you were blacklisted in corporate America, you would have a very hard time finding a job. 14, during the Red Scare, many people were accused of being communists without any evidence. All right, 15, during the Red Scare, people were punished for their beliefs and not their actions. So there were communists in America. However, do we know if they were subversive? It just depends on how you look at the 1950s and how you can interpret the information found from there. As Joseph McCarthy kind of proved, he was not able to ferret out any moles or communists in the federal government trying to subvert it. 16, the Red Scare ended when the Korean War ended and no spies had been discovered. Or no communists had been discovered. You can use that too. 17, the civil rights movement fought to end discrimination against African Americans. Remember, we're moving into the civil rights movement. 18, the Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education ruled that separate but equal was unconstitutional and ended legal segregation. That is Brown versus Board of Education. Overturns Plessy v. Ferguson, but Brown versus Board of Education is what you need to know. 19, to prevent the Little Rock Central High School from becoming desegregated, the governor in Arkansas used the National Guard troops to prevent African Americans from going to school. Blocked the doorways, wouldn't let them in. 20, African American Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man on a Montgomery, Alabama bus, leading to the Montgomery bus strike. 21, the Montgomery bus strike led to desegregation of buses in Montgomery, Alabama. 22, Martin Luther King led the Montgomery bus strike and became the leader of the civil rights movement. Now, interestingly enough, most people don't pay attention to this, but Martin Luther King is, of course, named after Martin Luther, who is the Catholic priest who raised Cain against the Catholic Church. He was the one who hammered his, I believe it was 96 complaints against the church on one of the doors, and where you get Lutheranism. So he was a rabble-rouser too. The man that he was named after was a rabble-rouser. Anyway, sorry, side historical note there. 23, Jackie Robinson was the first African American to play Major League Baseball. 24, Martin Luther King Jr. used marches, boycotts, and demonstrations, but never violence, in his fight to win equality for African Americans. All right, so that goes ahead and wraps up our quick review session here. It wasn't that long this time around, pretty quick, easy, and to the point. Now, one thing to remember, though, these study guides, especially since you guys have moved into 8th grade, we've made them a bit more vague. So you need to learn this information to answer the questions, but you also need to study. Just by watching this review PowerPoint is not going to guarantee your success. So look over some of the PowerPoints that I've created and left on my website. Also, they're still posted in Google Classroom, so you can always go back and review them there. Then we will have a test on Monday, so please use your time wisely to prepare for this upcoming test. All right, well, you guys have a good rest of the day, and like I said, there's no additional homework above and beyond reviewing for your test. Have yourselves a good rest of the day, and I'll see you Monday.